The 3rd of February 1996, obviously, it remains the historical date in South African sporting history that we all have such fond memories of. It's the day Bafana lifted the Africa Cup of Nations for the very first time on home soil. The substitute, Mark Williams, he scored twice in the second half. It was in the 73rd and 75th minute to help the team beat Tunisia 2-0 at the Soccer City Stadium, or FNB Stadium at that point in time. So to talk more about this moment and what it meant for Bafana, we're now joined by a legend, a defender, Mark Fish. Good morning, Mark. We chatted not too long ago about development in South African football, and now we're having this conversation. I know everyone is discussing the goals, the lifting of the trophy, what it meant to the country. But when you think about the 1996 Africa Cup of Nations, is there a memory that perhaps isn't as distinct for everyone else, but just pops out for you?
Yeah, no, good morning, Stacey. I don't know if you are aware that there's a class of 96 Rise of a Nation documentary that's going about. And the other night, no, I lied, not the other night, I lost, yesterday morning, I watched it. And that first episode, luckily I watched it alone because I was full of tears, full of emotions and it was, it was more than football, what was happening in our country and what that team did. So, it's unbelievable memories, Just a quick one. My daughter watched it, and when you tell your kids, oh, you met Mandela. Now I've got two young kids, so you met Mandela, and it's like, I'm not sure, Dad, if you're telling the truth. And then there on the first episode, my daughter watched it, and she sent a message saying, Dad, I see you met Mandela. Then I was like, oh, Mandela met me. So but the exciting thing is, I think for me, it always remains of what that team was off the field. On the field, everyone could see that we wanted to play for our country, play for the people, play for ourselves as individuals and for each other and for the coach. But that I always talk about the journey from Sunnyside Park Hotel to FNB Stadium, which was probably about a 25-minute drive with an escort, that the emotions, the singing, the dancing on that bus always psyched us up to once getting to the stadium. No matter how full the stadium was, we were able to go out and perform. And, watching the clips of what you were showing now, Mark Williams, as he calls himself, the nation builder, coming on and scoring those two goals, and it's no disrespect to Tunisia. My feeling of that whole tournament was that the semi-final was always the biggest game for us. Whoever won that semi-final, which was South Africa against Ghana, would go on to win the trophy, and we did. We beat Ghana comfortably on the night because of the support of the fans, because of the country getting behind us, and the players outshone and outperformed the Ghanaian team on the night. The final was always our expectation of when will we score. Yes, obviously Tunisia had goal-scoring opportunities, but when will we score that first goal to settle the nerves, I think, for people in the stadium, for us on the field. And eventually it took, as you mentioned there, the 73rd minute, a substitute, Mark Williams coming on, and the through ball from Doctor there. I don't know, Stacey, if you look at that field, that's a missed kick from Williams, but it went in. And don't let him know that I told you that.
We can't tell that. We can't say that. We can't say
100%. But then you can see the emotions of Clive. Deep down, he must have thought, oh, now he can breathe a bit, because he didn't want to show the emotions there, because obviously the stress of, we were the favourites to win that final. And after the 3-0 victory against Ghana, we were the favourites. And, for him to make this, as you will call, the super sub, come on and score that goal, ease the nerves, and he didn't want to show too much emotions, from the first goal. And then obviously Willies went on to score another goal. And I think, as you mentioned, it's two goals in the space of 2-3 minutes. Certainly settled the tie, settled the whole competition. And we were fortunate with the support of the country, the support of our president, the late Nelson Mandela. Certainly, the football, you can see the stands. I was fortunate, and we were fortunate to be in an era there where football played a major role in shaping the country the new country, the new South Africa.
You mentioned in that documentary, I watched it, and as you said, it was very moving. I think there were two things that stood out from what you've said over the years, and particularly in that documentary. You said people didn't realize how difficult it was to make that squad. And then the other thing you said is that the AFCON win helped Nelson Mandela, President Nelson Mandela at that point in time, unite the nation. Obviously, we had the 1995 Rugby World Cup, which was starting to create this momentum and showing how sport can unify people. But the squad, it was really a really special squad that was reflective of what we wanted the nation to be at that point in time. Did you ever, you were only 21, 22 years old at that point in time. When did it really hit you? You know, taking into consideration what was happening in the country and what it meant. Did you feel the weight only after that tournament, maybe years after, or was it in the moment as well?
Well, sure. I'm going to. Not anyone's asked me that question. So it's a very good question, Stacey. But I would probably say that the respect that I experienced would probably, you know, once I signed, I went from that tournament. I was very fortunate to then get an international move and move to Lazio in Italy. And even there, you know, Italian fans, obviously, football-loving fans, are very much aware of what South Africa had achieved. And in that time, we also eventually, you know, qualified for a World Cup. But I'd probably say the effect of realizing what we achieved as a football country, and at the time, I would probably say when I got to Bolton Wanderers, my club in England, where the fans there, where every time I touched the ball, they would shout fish as well. So the effect of what our team had achieved, the world was watching because of Nelson Mandela, because of the country, and because of the changes that were happening. And as you said, and it's rightfully mentioned, the Springboks were the catalyst of starting to change the way we were thinking, the way we were doing things in this country. And we just added on to that. And, you know, I'll be remiss to not speak about, you know, the story that is being told. And I would encourage the youth to go and watch it, because to see players and talk about players that performed in that national team, and then we've had players that have passed on. So, you know, to talk about the late John Mohetti, that was part of that squad, the late Philemon Chippa Masinga, the late John Shoes Masheo, Sizwe Matong, and obviously now Clive Barker as well. So I'm excited for this documentary to tell a story of how, when you tell your children or you tell individuals about what happened and what we had to go through to achieve what we did, and the support of everyone around us, or everyone was supportive of football and what football was doing for the country. And then, yeah, needless to say, you know, we had a multiple of unbelievable talented players, again, a technical staff, but yeah, the euphoria of being in that stadium, you can see the fans, the passion and commitment to not only football, to making South Africa what it can be and what it was and what it is.
I'd imagine
to say is that I think Sean Bartlett mentioned it wisely in the documentary, where he said that national team was a replica of what South Africa was. You know, all the colours, all the culture, everything that you wanted in a national team, that was there. And we were fortunate enough to go and echo what South Africa was striving to be, and as Clive Barker said, the best football nation on the continent, and showcasing the sporting ability of this fabulous country.
I suppose that brings me to my next question. I mean, I have so many questions for you, and just for the sake of time, it really was, you had a series of fortunate events, because you were a striker and then you became a defender when you moved to Jomo Cosmos. That was just before this 1996 AFCON, which started changing things for you just on the pitch. I mean, you ended up scoring in the quarterfinal. Let's not overlook that. And that was also a crucial goal that needed to be scored. Then you end up winning this AFCON. You end up moving to Lazio. You start playing European football. Bayern Munich was interested in you. Manchester United was interested in you. You liked Serie A as well. You were exported as a player. So the question is, many people look at our current squad, our current players, and we're asking these questions, how do we replicate? But it was a completely different era of football. But I think one thing that comes through is we do need to be exporting more players. And I know this is something that is close to your heart because it's what you're currently doing now with the likes of Charlton. But what do you think are the lessons? If we look at Clive and how you put the team together, you know, you mentioned in that documentary, there was a township flair. Again, taking into consideration the evolution of football, what do we need to perhaps look at the past and say, let's bring that back, understanding that we've still got to move into our future together?
So Stacey, I just want to touch on the quick one of where you talk about me being an attacking player and becoming a defender. My daughter watched the first, as I mentioned, the first episode, and then she sent a message to me and she went, Dad, so she knows a little bit about football, but she said, Dad, I see you in the first game, you assisted with 2 goals, you were there. Dad, what position did you play? So that's the funniest thing, because when you try and tell kids about, oh, I was a defender, but if you watch all the clips, it looks like I'm a striker trying to score goals. So that's what, and then I passed that message on to one of my friends, and he just said, you know, when you watch that national team, it looked at times, looked very chaotic, because you would have Sizwe going forward, you have Dr. Shoes, and obviously the strikers, and then you have Eric Tinkler sitting back, and you have then Toby on the left and Lucas on the right. So at times it looked like it wasn't organized, but it was. It was so organized in a way that we knew how to move forward. And when you talk about football today, I do believe that if you look at the way the game is played and it seems like maybe football is more structured today, I do think that we were ahead of our time in '96 with the quality of players. But again, I do believe that getting players, as you mentioned there, the question about having players play in the European leagues, playing in the best leagues, it is very advantageous for our national team, and players should be seeking to move abroad if they can, because it is, once you're playing against the best players in the world, it will have a knock-on effect for your national team. But I think that, if you look at our national team at the moment, the guys are, over the last 2 or 3 years with Hugo Broos, he is putting together what we haven't had I would probably say, since the last World Cup that we qualified for, since 2002, what we haven't. So the work that he's been putting, the technical staff, the players that are coming in, those players will understand what it means to play for the national team. And slowly the younger players that are coming in will, have hopefully a knock-on effect for the new younger players that come in. So something is being built. And then we need to keep on building and supporting the national team the way that we have with, with the fans coming to the stadium, the way the players are playing. Yes, obviously, we can't always win games, and we're always going to have people with opinions. But at the end of the day, it's players pushing themselves and realize. I think we have got past that hurdle of players actually comparing, thinking playing for your club is the same as playing for your country. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Playing for your country is the end all of anything representing your country.
So, Mark, I've got to bring you back so we can have this conversation about getting youngsters out there, getting them playing, in international trials and things like that, because I know that's something that you're involved in. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I do have to ask you, where do you keep your AFCON medal? How often do you look at it? Do you walk around with it at times like this when we're going to celebrate 30 years on the 3rd of February and show your kids and everyone at home, look who Dad was, look who I was?
Sure. Stacey, let's not tell anyone. Obviously, we're not telling anyone. Keep secret between me and you. But the thing is, I'm not a sentimental person. So people ask me, have I got my shirt? So I've given away to friends and to people that. So the AFCON medal, I would probably think is, if anyone is the most reliable, I would probably say my mother's probably got it hidden somewhere in one of the cupboards. So I'd probably say that. But I certainly. But thank you for allowing us to tell the story and to share this and the questions that you ask, because at the end of the day, it's important for football players and for people of this country to understand what it meant to play for your country, and it's more than just a game. That's all I want to say.
No, thank you, Mark. We definitely have to bring you back to pick your brain. I think there's just so many insights there that you can share with us, but we loved walking down memory lane with you, so thank you for taking the time out. You know him as Fish, you've shouted for him. He's much loved by the South African football and soccer audiences in South Africa. Yes, we were chatting to legend Bafana Bafana defender at that point in time, Mark Fish, and he was putting up the Buccaneers X there, because you know that after Jomo Cosmos, he moved to Orlando Pirates, and then after that he went overseas and started playing in Europe.